Retro. No.
Dune 2, sweeping the nation, sweeping the internet, sweeping pop culture in general. It is something that we predicted but never really thought we'd see come to pass. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the DuneCast. My name is Joe Tavano. Joining me, as always, my good friend and my co-host, Rod Johnson. How you doing?
Joe, I'm doing great. I got people I never thought would be talking Dune with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, welcome. We've been waiting.
We've been waiting for you. We're waiting for the world to catch up. It's kind of incredible to see the saturation of Dune everywhere. I got sent a video of an SNL skit, Dune on SNL, Saturday Night Live. I can't believe it. I can't believe I saw the word Shai Hulud on Saturday Night Live. Incredible.
I was actually playing poker, and it was on TV in the background, and I noticed that. I also noticed Josh Brolin wearing Surf the Sands of Arrakis t-shirt for his closing little monologue thing.
That's so he hosted. He hosted it.
Yes, Josh Brolin hosted.
Look at that, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Man, Josh Brolin can do no wrong, right? I mean, he chooses the greatest projects, except for Jonah Hex. But I mean, yeah, he
tried.
Yeah, I mean, Goonies, right? Goonies, No Country for Old Men. A little bit of a gap there, but that's all right. No Country for Old Men, Thanos, hello, Cable, and now, Gurney. Wow, what a career. This guy's incredible. But yeah, no, this episode, we're going to be talking a lot about Dune Part 2 and everything that has sort of been bubbling up since the release. We've learned a lot about Dune Part 2 behind the scenes. We've learned a lot about the audience reaction to the movie, and it's just really exciting to see this film do so well. It's currently, I think, over 300 million globally, and very, very profitable for Legendary and Warner Brothers. And while there's been no green light yet for Dune Messiah, I think that everyone feels a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I think anybody that's watched Dune Part 2 is screaming for a Part 3. Even those that haven't read the books and are not completely familiar are like, I need to see where this goes.
Yes, there is a lot of talk. I've never seen more talk about Dune Messiah in my entire life. Everybody is talking about it. There are so many articles being published about Dune Messiah. People are starting to read it again. And by the way, guys, if this is your first time listening to the DuneCast, welcome. And I just want you to know we have an entire library of commentaries about each Dune book in the Frank Herbert oeuvre. We will be getting to the rest of them as the show progresses. But we've done all 6 of Frank Herbert's Dune novels and gone very in depth on many of them. We're thinking about doing more as well. We're thinking about revisiting the early books and giving them the same level of rigor that we did the later books when we started to do 2-part episodes for each book. And I think that above all, I think Dune Messiah is warranted because it's my favorite Dune book for sure.
It is your favorite. No, I remember you and I were ranking them, and for me, Dune is always going to be my favorite. It's the first one.
Yeah.
But I do swear, every time I go through that series, my ranking changes. The last 5 change rank.
Yeah, it is hard to rank the Dune books, and I'm forgetting what exactly how I ranked them that day. Here is my order for for the Dune books, and this is gonna sound wild because I love every single one of these books. All right, number 1. No, let's do this the other way. Number 6 is the original. It's Dune. No, it's my.
So.
What are you gonna say?
So wild.
Yeah, it's
so wild.
It's my least. I'm gonna say it's my least favorite Dune book, but not because it is the worst book. I don't think it's a bad book at all. I think it's an incredible book that opened my eyes to what science fiction could be. But You know something? I feel like it's Herbert's least of the Dune saga because of everything else that he wrote afterwards was just so much more wider in scope and imaginative and just flat out wild. He swung for the fences after he wrote Dune because he wasn't sure he was going to be published. You have to remember, an auto manual company, publishing company, published Dune. It was rejected everywhere. This is a person, Frank Herbert, who didn't exactly have perhaps the most self-confidence in his in this novel. But once that was validated, once Dune became a hit, it was go time, and he was ready to really take the gloves off and hit the gas. And then we get Dune Messiah, and this world just opens up. What's your number 6 out of the Herbert books, Frank Herbert books?
Children of Dune, which is funny because it was high. Like, I remember my first read through, it was much higher.
Okay, yeah. Let's hear. Why is that? Why did it go down?
I don't know. Like, it's so weird. Every time I go through this series, I feel like they just change on me.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
I can't pinpoint it. You know, it's one of those things. People are like, "Why do you like what you like?" And like, sometimes I can't tell you.
Sure, okay.
You know, I can't put a pin on, but
you put it last.
It's a tough.
You put it last for a reason.
I think to answer this, I'd have to go through the rest, but I think
we're doing it all.
I've already said
we're doing it all. We're doing it all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've already said what my number 1 was, and anybody that knows me and my pets has probably figured out what my number 2 is, but. I loved 5 and 6 and how they turned everything completely around.
Mm-hmm.
And just this whole new time jump, 1,500 years, new enemies, you know, the Honored. It was just, something had to be 6, and for right now, this is where this one sits. And I wouldn't be surprised if it leapfrogs into number 4 on my next read through.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like Dune 1 is the only one that stays in the number 1 position every time through.
Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you, yeah, one book has to be number 6 in this list. And it doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means it's the least of them in your estimation. Number 5 on my list is Chapter House. And again, that does not mean it is a bad book. Number 5 is Chapter House because everything else that comes after it is just so groundbreaking. Just absolutely wild. Wild. And there, you know, I don't even know if I can speak to Chapter House by saying this is why it's number 5. I can speak to everything else and say this is why everything else is 4, 3, 2, 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just sort of slotted in there. All right, your number 5
is Chapter House.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's just sort of where it ends up.
And I think part of it for me is we never got that finale.
Okay.
I shouldn't say we never got that finale. But did we get the vision that Frank had? I don't know. That's always going to be that one that we're constantly arguing about. And so
yeah,
it's tough for me.
It's a bit tough to reconcile that, right? There is something there that will always be left unsaid, I guess. Even though there is a conclusion to the saga. So there's something there. The climax of Chapter House Dune is fantastic. The final battle is incredible. It's an incredible sequence that takes up a good, 25%, 30% of the book. Excellent. The resolution is wild, and I love that. So the first half of Chapter House it feels a bit of a continuation of Heretics to me. Not necessarily unique in its ideas. It just seems like it's going right from Heretics right into Chapter House. Keeping the pace up, but it just didn't feel distinct to me. And I think a lot of people might agree with that.
It is one of the few that just seems to jump into the next book seamlessly.
It rolls, right? And Herbert was probably rolling right into it as well in his writing. Okay. My number 4 on this list is Heretics. I put it higher only because I just think it's I don't want to call it a reboot because it really is a continuation of the entire saga. But it really is a new beginning, right? It's It's Friday the 13th, Part 5. It's a new beginning. Or is that 7? I'm not sure. But
I could not tell you. You could say whatever you want, and I wouldn't be able to call you a liar.
Yeah. But it's something else. And after 4 incredibly imaginative books, 4 books where you'd think that after God Emperor, a writer would have everything, would have said everything that they have to say, right? Just literally just what's the word? Exegesis of their entire brain.
Sure.
Yeah. They just, Herbert comes back for more and introduces us to an entire new cast of characters that embrace the entire legacy of Dune and the known universe at that time. So, wild book. Heretics is still, I think, very underrated, and to this day, DuneCast has the absolute most in-depth analysis of that novel that anyone has ever conducted. So
we did go into that one.
We went into that one, my friend. I think a total of 6 hours on Heretics of Dune. So yeah, buckle up. You'll learn a lot about Heretics of Dune if you want to give that a listen. A lot of fun though. A lot of fun on that one.
So my number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4, I'm sorry, is Heretics.
There we go.
And the funny fact is, like I say, I keep saying, my order changes. I still remember the first time through the series, my number 1 was Dune. But 2 and 3 were Heretics and Chapter House and then Children. And I think it was because of the action the first time through.
Yeah,
I don't think, like my first time through the series, I wasn't sure what I was in for. And then after you get through the whole series and you go back and you revisit, and that's when you start getting into the nuances of the stories, and your rankings change.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also we get introduced to the only person that might contend with Duncan for being the cool badass, Miles Tagg.
Miles Tagg.
I mean, you could almost put it higher just for being introduced to Miles.
Yeah, Miles Tagg is incredible. Definitely why that snags the number 4 spot. But my number 3 is Children of Dune. And I put Children of Dune high on this list because it introduces us to Leto II. The birth of Leto in many ways. I mean, the birth of Leto's in there's one birth of Leto in Messiah, but the real birth of Leto is in Children. And I think that Children of Dune is one of Herbert's strongest novels because it balances action with political intrigue, and it's a little bit lighter on philosophy than some of his other later books, but I think it provides a very interesting conclusion to the ideas that were set forth in Dune. And in many ways, the universe as it's set forth in Dune, it is the natural climax of that storyline that began in his first book, carried forward through Messiah, and then resolves in Children, with the fall of House Carino, the rise of the Atreides Empire, and the how do I put this?
Not sure.
The acceptance of the Golden Path. And
yeah,
some people bang out right at Children. That's it. They're done. They're like, okay, humanity's on the Golden Path now. And you can, and they had many more adventures along the way. The end, right? Like you can sort of...
Yeah. And the universe was saved.
Kind of. Yeah. But you don't really... You can... It is a jumping off point for many people. But if you go further... further, you will find in horrors and wonders beyond imagining. All right, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is your number 1, Messiah.
There we go. Okay. And why is it number 3? Why is that the bronze medal?
Because my number 2, I just holds a special place in my heart, I guess. I don't know, I'm being cheesy, making a joke. But no, Messiah, there was a lot of, it was alluded to in Dune, the book, heavily leaned into in the movie. but it's when you truly find out the perils of hero worship. And
yes. Yeah. And that's it right there. That's what.
And for being written in the time that it was, it's amazing that he had that foresight to write that, because the type of story, the outsider coming in and saving the day and the Messiah and the chosen one was such a common trope. And so for him to take that and completely flip it in the 60s is amazing.
It was. And, Dune is 65. Messiah is 69, I believe. Summer of Love.
I'll just say 7, but maybe I'm wrong. No, it was like
I believe it's 69. So it's it is kind of incredible that he takes this entire concept that he built up through Dune and takes us into this trope that was very prevalent in our society and also in our in our literature and our novels and our entertainment at the time in American Western culture, and says, no, we need to evolve. We need to think further. We need to think larger about the fate of humanity, and it can't be centered around one person. It's an incredible message told incredibly, and there are other tragedies written. Obviously, the tragedies have been written for thousands of years, and the tragedy of Paul is not one of a character flaw, but one of utter duty and obligation. He chooses to become a horrible person to try to attempt to make to have a better outcome for the fate of humanity. But in the end, he's just a man, and he fails.
And he doesn't have it in him.
Yeah, he doesn't have it in him to be.
To do what's necessary.
Yeah, to be as inhuman as he needs to be. Which brings me to my number 2, God Emperor of Dune. And I got to tell you something. If you asked me a few times a while ago, I probably would have said God Emperor was my number 1.
I could understand that.
There were definitely years where God Emperor was my number 1 Dune book, and it was hard for me to kind of knock it off the list, because if Children of Dune is a climax to if Children of Dune is a climax to the first 3 books, then God Emperor is above all it's like a focal point, right? It's not an epilogue, and it's certainly not it's not the continuation of anything else. No one has ever really structured a book series like this, having a trilogy and then a bridge where almost all ideas are concentrated. Like the final and most powerful dose of Herbert philosophy is completely concentrated right in the middle of the saga, and then we see an outpouring of what comes afterwards. It's a nexus point for the entire series, and that's brilliant. It's something never attempted before, never done before, and just absolutely brilliant.
And so my number 2 is also God Emperor.
God Emperor. There you go.
And I love the character of Leto II.
Incredible.
Yeah, this whole idea of, this human sandworm hybrid and living for 3,500 years. And basically, it's one thing to give up your humanity for a short period of time, but to do it for 3,500 years.
3,500 years. 3,500 years.
They changed the face of Arrakis.
Changed the face of the universe.
But the Fremen are just gone, essentially.
Right.
And then, so the Fremen are gone, and you've got these fish speakers, and Duncan, Idaho is being brought back again and again. And there were so many things in there. I remember you and I talking about the Duncan Golas not thinking of themselves as, I started that phrasing it wrong, but they thought of themselves as separate people.
Right.
Remember the one Duncan goes and, to the other Duncan that had a family and stuff. And it's like, I don't
know you. I don't know you. I don't feel anything for you.
I don't owe you anything.
Yeah. This is strange.
But there's never been a character like Leto II.
None. None in literature. None it's incomparable. A person who is at once a tyrant and at once a messiah, and at once a liberator and at once an oppressor, all at once. Like what incredible craftsmanship on Herbert's part to be able to create a character, let alone imbue it with life. And imbue it with a character like that with feelings and ideas and thoughts and motivations, beyond just power, right? Or good versus evil. You end God Emperor of Dune wondering, after all this time, which the novel's essentially just a monologue, and you wonder if you've really got to know this character, or if you've only just scratched the surface.
It was he's such a good character, and you get like you said, this insight into somebody that basically has all his ancestral memories, both sides, and prescience to see the future. He's as close to a god as you can get without being a god.
Yeah, and also this monstrous hulking body that can sometimes just take over and just maul people. Like you never know. Like the eyes just roll back like a shark, and all of a sudden, look out.
Yep, look out. Bring me another Duncan.
On the killing path.
Squish.
You know what's interesting, too, about God Emperor is the degradation and the continuation of institutions that were set up across 3 books. So something like the fish speakers, like Duncan Idaho gets woken up in his Gola form, and he's like, okay, what are you? Like, where did this group come from? And he learns, like, it's this merging of multiple different organizations, and then the fish speakers being responsible for organizations that come afterwards too, right? And you see this continuation over millennia of these concepts that effectively originate back in our society, right? There's a through line from our society to the Dune, the time of Dune, and then way leap forward into God Emperor, and then even further than that, you see a through line of all of these different institutions and how they're warped and changed and transformed and corrupted and renewed again, and it's wild. I love it. I love that long view of the tendencies of humanity.
There's also a little sentimental value in that book as well.
Yeah.
Because when we were recording that episode is when my wife surprised me with our first dog, little like 2.5 pound puppy, and she says, I want to name him Snarky. And I was like, absolutely not. And we had just recorded our episode for God Emperor, and that's so I'll always remember like recording that, and that's how I named my dog.
Who is named
Leto.
There we go. And that's Dog Talk with Rod for this episode.
Yeah, that is how that happened.
We work that in once an episode. So
maybe twice sometimes. Depending. I'm old and I forget stuff, people. I'm sorry, I'll repeat myself.
All right, so we talked about our number ones, right? My number one is Messiah, and I'll tell you why. And if you haven't got it yet, it's because, like I said before, Dune, I think that Herbert was holding back. He was trying to get published, and he had these ideas, and once it was a success, he just let it rip. And the floodgates opened up, and next thing you know, you have, beyond the political intrigue of Chom and the Landsraad and the Atreides and the Harkonnens and Corrinos, you have the Bene Tellaks, you have Ix, you have, who am I forgetting here? Mostly the Ixians, no? The Spacing Guild takes a much the Navigators as a subset of them, and you get even further into the culture of Arrakeen. I feel like Arrakeen takes on a whole life of its own as a bustling, living city. You understand where the Fremen, what happened to the Fremen after the Jihad started. You see what happened to Alia. And my gosh, now that's a tragic character, and it just opens things.
Saint Alia of the Knife is yeah, and that's one of the big reasons. Like, my God, do I want an Anna Taylor-Joy as a grown Alia?
She won't be Saint Alia of the Knife, will she?
No, I guess she wouldn't be. Would
she
she?
Won't be in the film because
She never killed the Baron.
Yeah, she never killed the Baron. Yeah, so interesting that in that respect.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I hadn't put that together yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she needs to be Saint Leia of the Knife. Also, we need to Dune needs to really lay down its pronunciation of this name. Is it Alia? Is it Aaliyah? Is it it's changing.
There's a video somewhere of Frank Herbert pronouncing the names.
Yep, but how there is one, but how is how are the films saying it? That's what we need to know. And I don't think there's many.
Yeah, they have
many references yet.
Well, the films haven't. Well, the new one didn't name her, did they?
Did they say it once? I don't know. Maybe not.
I'm trying to remember.
Got to see it again. We're still on viewing number 1. Unfortunately.
I know. I am so angry that I haven't been able to go again, but I am in the busiest time of year.
Yeah, March is a busy month, but we'll get there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I was actually reading an article about a guy who's seen Dune Part 2 200 times already. Something incredible like that. So, hey man, shout out to you if you call.
You're living your best life, and I'm jealous.
Yeah, if you're listening, email us DuneCast at retrozap.com, and we'd love to hear from you. Yeah, no, that's incredible, but no, not me yet. I won't be seeing it 200 times, unfortunately. That's a lot of 3-hour blocks for a 44-year-old man to put time aside for.
I don't know if you could set me in one of those comfy theater chairs that many times without me snoring.
So one last thing on Dune Messiah before we move on. Why I think it's the most important and the best Dune book. It's the shortest of Frank Herbert's novels as well, and I think he really he cuts all the fat out if there is any fat to be cut from a Dune novel, and he really gets down to brass tacks. He has a vision of what this novel needs to be, and he executes it just so precisely. The downfall of Paul, but at the same time, the universe is opening up with the Bene Talax, and you learn so much about their culture while also not really learning a lot either. You're introduced to the concept of Golas, which are taken to such wild places with the rest of the novels. Face dancers, Space and Guild navigators. The concept of prescience in itself is refined and better explained in Messiah than it is in Dune. I think that more of the Dune universe and more of the Dune saga owes its legacy to Dune Messiah, the concepts that were introduced there, and the precision and subversion of themes that are present in Dune Messiah than they actually do to the original Dune, which is a little bit more of an elegy to an older civilization. It's the downfall of a previous civilization and the rise of a new one. And in Dune, Messiah, we're living in that.
It's kind of interesting because if you think about it, in the first one, he sets up the story, sets up a couple of the characters, but it's the second book where he really sets up the Dune universe.
Yeah, under the Atreides influenced universe, right? The beginning of Dune is one family, one house of the Landsraad living among other houses of the Landsraad, and their eventual takeover of the universe at the end of the book. It is really the death of an old civilization and the rise of a new empire. And you don't get to live in that empire until Messiah and really see the consequences of what those actions are. And everything really begins at the end of Dune and and what happens in Messiah. And you just get such a the interior life of Paul is just so much more evident in Messiah than it was in Dune. The writing style is just a little bit more refined. There's just so much more going on in the heads of these characters than there ever were before, because a lot of the exposition of how different organizations and factions and people interact is a little bit out of the way as well. So I feel like this is very much like a Star Wars to Empire type situation in a lot of ways. I and that's why I put it at number 1, because it's important, it's special, and I really think it deserves to be read back to back, as I've said many times over the years. You finish Dune Messiah, read it again, and you're going to get so much more out of it, because you'll be able to absorb the concepts you just read a little bit better, and you'll really see the clockwork intricacy of Frank Herbert's universe.
And We've already discussed my number one and why it's my number one.
Yeah, Dune.
I don't think it's almost sentimental again here. It's the first one. It's being introduced to that world. It's the descriptions of this desert planet and these huge worms and drum sand and thumpers and these Fremen badass warriors. It was what sucked me into this series originally.
Yeah, I can't.
Call me a simple man.
No,
call me a simple man.
I think that's very valid, and I was sucked in the exact same way, and I love this book from the moment I read it, which is funny because I probably spent 24 years being recommended not to read it and being told, it's not that good, or it's kind of weird. I wouldn't read it because of other people who read it and didn't get into it, and they provide that recommendation. What's also interesting?
And then you got a new set of friends.
Yeah, no.
After you read,
not really. After you read, I just dropped the old ones, and I never was able to replace them.
Yeah, I don't need them.
What is interesting is the idea. For decades, there's been a stigma over that Dune. The first book of Dune was the best book, and the rest of them are meh. I'd heard people say, or descending in quality. With each successive book, there is that stigma among science fiction fans, genre fans, and the general public. It's out there. People will still say it to this day. And I feel that Dune Part 2 is going a long way to dispel that and to get people excited about Messiah. And I think that that type of stigma is not long for this world. And I think people are going to really see the grandeur of the entire saga.
I've had multiple people ask me, are they doing a third movie? Like, they're not ending it like this. There has to be. And I'm like, they're doing a third movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of hope for seeing the rest of the saga played out. Obviously, not with Villeneuve. I think he's very clear that he's only making Messiah. But I think this has a lot of legs. I think that this whole series is going to go in multiple different directions. I think that Dune: The Sisterhood, is that what it's still called? The series?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's going to be really interesting. I know they're taking their time and trying to get that series right. I know they went back to the drawing board a couple of times now with the concept and the casting and number of ideas about that series. I know there's not a lot to say about it yet, but we'll be covering it when there is. But I think there's a lot of directions to go with that series. I'm really excited to see what it's going to be, and I'm really excited for the stigma around the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson books to be dispelled as well, because fandom has, like fandom does, slaps an opinion on something, and then it is just engraved forever. And you know what? There's a lot of good.
And how dare you not? How dare you like their books? Like, you can't be a Dune fan if you like their books.
/S. Sarcasm.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we got to get that Hunters of Dune book podcast out, because we talk quite a bit about this in that podcast, and that'll be coming soon. But I think that it's time to bury those old stigmas and to give the wider Dune bibliography a chance, because they've written a lot, and there's a lot of backstory about these characters, and there's a lot of very, very interesting and very worthwhile stories to be told in the Dune universe. So I'm excited to see that expansion as well. Clearly they're going to go that route when we talk about Fade's child. So that's kind of cool, right? So I'm really excited to hear and see more of where they're going to go in that direction as well.
You want to know who the first Fremen to ride a sandworm was?
Yeah.
You'll find out.
Oh, okay.
They'll tell you.
Oh, okay. I thought you
want to know what happened to Gurney's family? You find out.
Whoa. I've read some of the comics. I think Boom Studios was doing some adaptations of some of the Brian and Kevin stuff over the past few years.
The House series.
Yeah, I think I read House Atreides maybe. And that was pretty good.
They were doing House Harkonnen next.
Yeah, I haven't picked that up. I don't know if it's out yet, but it is out. Okay, I will I definitely got to check that out. We should do an episode about talking about those comic adaptations. They're pretty cool. You know what I don't think I talked about this, but you know what I did buy when Dune Part 1 came out, I pre-ordered that like really that like $250 like Kickstarter package of like the graphic novel of the movie, and it came with all these extras and a bunch of tchotchkes. I did it. I didn't really do it for the graphic novel. I mean, the graphic novel is beautiful. But what I really did it for is the stuff they threw in, and it was the signet ring, and it was the Gom Jabbar. They did say they had the box, but the box is just cardboard. It's not. I was a little let down by the box, but the Gom Jabbar and the signet ring, whoo, these are cool. These are very cool, very accurate. They look awesome, and they're in the my tower of power over here with all the shelves of all my collections. So
I have got some Dune art that I got last year at Fan Expo in Chicago, and there's one that in particular that I really like, and I need to have framed and put on the Dune wall in front of me. I've still got. I've never assembled my Baron figure. Wait, is it? No, it's not Baron. I'm sorry. Is that Beast?
Yeah, the Beast figure. Yeah, Beast Raban from the.
Mine are all still in the box. I don't know why.
I mean, all right, guys. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Dune merch here.
There's some interesting merch out there.
Dune merch sucks. I'm just gonna say it. Dune merch is not very good. It's hard. This is not a universe for kids, right? It's not Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not Star Wars. It's not Marvel. It's a desert planet where death is at every corner, and people aren't really interested in looking good. They're just interested in surviving and gaining power. So you're not going to get these cool, bright-looking characters that have awesome costumes. You're going to get functional-looking costumes and really hard-looking people, like mean-looking people. And then on the Harkonnen side, you're just going to get, weirdos, real pale-looking weirdos. So, looking at I thought that the figures that came out for Part 1 were good. We're good. I got the whole wave. You notice there were none for Part 2. There were none at all.
I thought there was. I thought I remembered seeing some, and I was like,
I didn't see any of these. There were, hit the keyboards right here.
So you and I are a little different. You're a little, like, I basically buy, like, if I go to a con and I see some Dune.
There are some. Look at this.
Yeah, I thought there was.
Oh, I did not know about this. Okay. So there's
Chaney.
There's a Gurney, there's another Paul, there's a Chaney, and there's a Stilgar. Okay.
Stilgar, huh?
Yeah. I mean...
Is he wide-eyed?
Yeah, and no one really has blue eyes here. Not even Chaney, which is kind of a letdown, I gotta be honest. And yeah, it's basically just like the still suits from the... I don't even know if they look as good as the figures from Dune Part 1. I don't know who's making these. Oh, McFarlane. Interesting. McFarlane's still making these, but yeah, they're just okay.
And see, if I'm in the wild, like at a con, and I see something Dune, I've been buying it. Now, my hope is that there is enough Dune merch at the next con I go to that I'll be a little more selective. But like, it's been a deal where I go to a con and I'm like, holy shit, is that Dune art? And I just buy it because I'm just so excited to see some Dune art.
I'm more interested in officially licensed merch than fan creation. Now there's a 2-pack of Fade and Paul, and wow, the
fighting.
Yeah, it's like the dual pack, and Fade's eyes are black, his mouth is black. It's a weird looking figure. I think overall...
Well, it wouldn't be a Dune merch if there wasn't some weird looking...
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the old 84 Baron figure?
Yeah. I mean, those 84 figures were not great. They were like toyetic, right? They were trying to be toys for kids, and that should never have happened. That should never have happened.
No.
Do you remember the worm? You know what I mean? From those figures. Yeah, so check this out.
I never did get... Oh, look at that.
Yeah, look at that face. It's like that...
I actually kind of like that Fade.
It's kind of cool, right? I mean, he does that screaming thing he does in the arena, which he doesn't do in the duel, but you kind of get that here. So as a figure, it looks kind of cool. Do I want to display this though? I mean, I don't know. The Paul figure, I mean, his face, the paint app on his face is not up to the standards of today's figures. I mean, they could do a lot better.
Yeah, that does not look like Chalamet at all.
Yeah, it just looks like basic guy. Yeah, and the paint app on the face of all of these figures is just not as good as it could be. And they looks like they have a different Fade figure here, and I mean I think the Fade figure actually looks decent.
Yeah,
it actually looks decent. They got a really good likeness of Austin Butler, a bald and eyebrowless Austin Butler. But I think it looks kind of cool. I'm actually shocked they made these. I was not expecting. I heard nothing about them. And yeah, for the main wave, I think the Gurney looks pretty good. He has a little bit of gray in the beard, and all the still suits and armor are a little more sandblasted. That's cool. Paul looks he's carrying a thumper and maker hooks, which are cool. Cheney has maker hooks, even though we didn't. Well, we see her at the end with the maker hooks. We didn't really see her ride the worm.
Yeah, she rode a worm at the end.
Okay, yeah. And Stilgar looks okay. I mean, it might be the exact same head as in part 1, but yeah, they're okay. I'm probably not gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna pull the trigger on these because
no.
Yeah,
if they're anything like the last ones, just hold off. They'll be
marked down. I mean, they're already marked down from 70 to 52 on Amazon right now. It's also frequently returned item I'm seeing here. Okay, that's a weird thing to see on Amazon, and I wonder why.
I've seen it before, but usually it's like something that you bought that was electronic and it didn't come with batteries.
Yeah, just
all 9, huh?
Oh, it looks like they have Emperor Shaddam and a new Raban that does not look good. Real fat neck Raban there.
So they got 2. Is that 2 separate Paul Atreides?
Yeah, they have the dual Paul Atreides, and they have the.
Oh, that's the dual one. Okay, I see.
Yeah, and then the 2 Fades. The what is it called? The not angry Fade, the still Fade, and the the angry Fade. Yeah, the Emperor Shaddam
angry
looks bad. Yeah, they just have him in sackcloth.
I'm not impressed with these.
I'm not impressed. They could do so much better. I mean, if you look at what's going on with Hot Toys, it would be what they're doing with Hot Toys is incredible, and they look alive. Yeah. So I don't know. I think a lot of people are returning these because they're being marked down. That's what I'm reading in the comments here. But in any event, buy at your own risk, I guess. Buy at your own peril. They're okay figures. They're not great. So I do wish that Dune had better merch. I don't know if action figures and the traditional merch is the way to go. I know that the Herbert family is always more leaned into literature, adaptations, tabletop gaming. Those are interesting things to do, but they don't really move the needle culturally, right? They're not the Dune popcorn bucket, which is, I would say, in its grotesqueness, the massive the massive success here, because it really got people talking.
I love the video I sent you, because I got it like a month ago, didn't I? Like a month ago.
You got it like a month ago.
Because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the movie theater and see if the Joe Blow employee will sell me a Dune popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
And he did.
That's awesome.
And he was like, "You want popcorn in it?" And I was like, "Absolutely not."
No way.
and then I shot the video and I was like, "Yeah, I finally got my hands on it. I bought one." And I was like, "That's a lie. I bought 2."
That's awesome. Well, they're going for like $70-$80 on eBay right now. So people want them.
Cracks me up.
They're hilarious. They're absolutely hilarious.
Like I said, I've got 2 never fornicated with popcorn buckets. So
I mean, you don't know what happened before you bought them.
Well, I want to believe.
Yeah, you got to believe, right? You got to believe. And we'll link in the show notes to the SNL skit. You guys got to check this out. It's hilarious. It really, really is.
Yeah, and that like a Dune popcorn bucket is, like you said, now on Saturday Night Live.
It's too good. Yeah, and like a silly, video skit. I mean, I love that.
And it's been the talking point of a lot of people that come into my office.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you got it in the office?
Well, I've got one at the office and one at home. I bought 2.
Yeah, one for wherever you need it, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was an impulse buy. The second one was.
There you go. Did you check out? I just love this Dune fandom that's really springing up. Did you check out the video of the guy who rode the sandworm to the premiere?
Listen, if you are out there, let us
contact us. We want to talk to you.
That was amazing.
Incredible.
I had so many people sending me those videos, and I was like, "This is awesome." And I wish I was that creative.
Oh my gosh, he put the Hans Zimmer score behind him as he rides into the lobby on a improvised like sandworm vehicle.
I saw some other videos where he's like cruising down the street on that
he's in
thing.
The parking lot.
I'm like,
oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. I love it. Yeah, I mean, Dune has just been everywhere for the past couple of weeks. It's so cool to just see it everywhere. Have you heard about this game, Dune Awakening, the 4X game?
I've heard a little bit, and I'm like, damn it, I don't really have time to game anymore.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to try.
Am I gonna have to find time?
We're gonna have to find time, I think. I mean, this is the 4X game that was announced, 2018, maybe 2017, years ago, and it's finally coming to fruition. It looks beautiful. It absolutely looks beautiful. I guess it's a little bit of a Dune alternate universe because they have to, if you don't know what a 4X game is, it's like Sid Meier's Civilization, right? If you ever checked out or played one of those. So it's interesting, and I'm really curious to see how it plays out. It looks beautiful. More to say about that once it's released, and we get to dig our hands into it a little bit more. So I'm excited about that. But I mean, I think video games are a great way to go with Dune. There needs to be more. There needs to be more accessible Dune games for sure.
I mean, that was what got a lot of people into the series back in the day, was the old PlayStation PC games.
Yeah, Dune 2, right? The computer game, the computer strategy game. I mean, that got a lot of shall we say computer nerds like ourselves into that at the time. But I think that there needs to be something to break the mainstream, right? I think that a really expansive RPG like a Mass Effect, right? Like something wild, like you're a Gola and you have to, explore the Imperium, and explore the known universe. And that could be incredible in the Dune universe. But I think
an open world game.
Yeah, some sort of open worldy type of game. That could be so cool.
Where you lose your partner and you're trying to raise Solari so you can get a Gola.
Yeah, something of that sort. Face dancer attacks at any moment. That would be wild. It would be so cool. But there's so much on the table now to do with Dune. I really think that there's more to do.
It's crazy how much more this one, like the first one, and I don't know if it was because of COVID,
Yeah, it was.
And it came out and it was, people weren't leaving the house, or rarely. You watched it at home, and then you get part 2, and it's an event.
It's a better movie. It's just flat out a better movie. It doesn't have the pacing issues that part 1 did. Part 1 was a little bit slow. Every single time I watch part 1, instinctively at the hour and a half mark, I look at my phone and I'm like, how long have I been in here? Oh, we're only halfway through the film at this point. It just feels a little long around that hour and a half mark. And I just think that Villeneuve really, he just dialed it in and got the formula, and he knows it now. And it's incredible what they did with the second movie. Really incredible. And shout outs to, his entire, everyone that worked on the film too. It's not just him. It's not just one person's film. I mean, Greg Fraser, the cinematographer, the editor, the film editors on Dune, whose names escape me at the moment. But I mean, these are people who are assembling this movie, and it's incredible.
Shout out to Hans Zimmer for an amazing score.
Yes, and I'll also put this link in the show notes as well. I watched an incredible video on YouTube breaking down why Hans Zimmer is an amazing composer and why he's perfect for Dune and what he's doing to create soundscapes and alien sounds. They literally invented instruments just to be used in Dune because Zimmer said, why should this sound like it was made on Earth? It's an alien planet. I mean, that's just so forward thinking. And I love that. I love that so much. Completely different from like a John Williams, right? Or an Alan Silvestri. Just these wild soundscapes that you can't almost like place.
And the women, like, what would you call that? Throat singing?
Yeah, there's throat singing, there's chanting, there's all sorts of sounds.
There's that like,
yeah,
I can't even make the noise, and I always say in the trailer for the first Dune with Chaney's voiceover, do you remember that? They had that light over the top of it, but then in the theatrical release, it was just quiet and it was just the wind. Yeah. I actually preferred the trailer version.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not really. I got to be honest with you.
I'll send a link to you later.
You do that. Yeah.
Because I was trying to remember when we watched the first 10 minutes, I was like, I thought that in the first 10 minutes it had the sound from the trailer that was the same as the trailer, and then but
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a couple of years, and I'm old, and I forget things. So.
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I'll link to the show notes, but there's an excellent video on YouTube breaking down the score and why Zimmer is an excellent choice. Speaking of YouTube, DuneCast is on YouTube as well. We're up there. We have a YouTube channel now, so just look us up. One word, DuneCast, and you'll find all episodes up live. We're not broadcasting live at the moment. We're thinking about doing that in the future. We're not sure if that's something we're going to do, but we'll see. But let us know if that's something you guys want. If not, we'll probably be keeping a podcast only for the time being. But we are on YouTube, and it's just a great way to listen to the podcast out there. Speaking of editing Dune, there were 2 characters that did get cut. And we talked about one of them last episode. We talked about Thufir, Stephen McKinley Henderson's Thufir was cut from this film. He shot it. He shot scenes, and we did not know that before.
We suspected because it was reported like he was in the credits.
Yes, yeah, we did.
People that watch like he was in the credits, but not on screen in that movie, and that means we're never going to see it because like you talked about, Denis does not do deleted scenes.
No, he does not. He doesn't do deleted scenes. He doesn't do director's cuts. What he puts out is what he puts out. So
no post-credit scenes.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. So that's okay though. That's all right. I believe him.
You make a movie like that, I'm not going to complain.
No, not at all. He has a vision and he is a true auteur. And if he believes he got everything out on the screen that he wanted to get out, if that's the right version, then you got to believe him.
And after watching that movie, I do.
I do too. The second person is Tim Blake Nelson, who played Count Fenring, and he's a great actor. If you don't recognize the name, he was in Ballad of Buster Scruggs. He was in oh my gosh, now it's escaping me. I keep wanting to say No Country for Old Men, but that's not it. It's the one with Clooney, the one from like the 1920s.
I'm not remembering. That's not surprising. Anybody that actually knows me knows that the list of movies I've never seen is
John Turturro,
unacceptably long.
George Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Great movie, by the way.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, it came out a while ago.
I have seen that one.
Yeah, you haven't seen it. It's pretty good. It's a fun movie.
I have seen
it. Oh, yeah, it's a good one. But Tim Blake Nelson's a great actor, and he was going to play Count Fenring. I think he would have done a great job. And he had a scene. He had scenes. But yeah, he says he's heartbroken that his scene from that Dune Part 2 was left on the cutting room floor. So what are you going to do, right? I'm sure everyone who is ever cut from a movie,
he said he
is heartbroken.
He says he's wanting to work with Denis again.
Of course, I mean these articles always have to try to create drama, but what he really said was, I don't think I'm at liberty to say what the scene was. I'd leave that to Denis if he wants to talk about it. I had a great time over there shooting it, and then he had to cut it because he thought the movie was too long. And I am heartbroken over that, but there's no hard feelings. I loved it, and I can't wait to do something else with him, and we certainly plan to do that. Okay. There's no drama there. So be careful. Be careful what you read in the headlines. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
No. Did you see them showing Dune to, I'm not going to say it was Make-A-Wish, but it was an adult that was in hospice care, and he got to watch Dune Part 2 6 weeks early. Did you see that?
I did, yeah. This was reported in Washington Post. I read this, and yeah, it looks like he, getting the film to the man was a race against the clock. They said, I'm not sure what charity it was that helped this man, but he got to see it.
I don't think it was a charity. If I remember the article correctly, it was like somebody knew somebody that had a connection, and the story got to Denis.
Nice.
And they made it happen. And he got to pick one person to watch the movie, and they had to sign NDAs and everything.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, it's precisely for him that we make films, is what Villeneuve and his wife Tanya Lapointe, an executive producer for Dune Part 2, said. They were extremely...
Yeah, I think it was somebody that knew his wife, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, extremely touched that this was this man's last wish. So the name of the man is... I don't think it's been revealed, and that's totally fine. So January 16th, Villeneuve's assistant flew to Quebec with the director's laptop and took it to the palliative care center 130 miles north of Quebec City. The man didn't speak English and had to watch the film with French subtitles on. He was so weak that we thought he might pass while watching the film. Wow. He was not able to watch the full two. He was not able to watch it because he was in too much pain. But that's okay. He actually passed a few days later. But that's okay. He died taking the secret of the film with him, is what they're quoted as saying. But my gosh, what a sad story, but also kind of amazing.
Kudos to the staff and crew for making that happen.
Yeah, that's special. That's really special. And you know something, it's amazing that this story impacts people so much that's something that this man wished for and was able to see fulfilled.
And I do like the fact that they were able to even keep this story under wraps until after the movie had gotten released. You know, I don't remember seeing this story published.
No.
Before the movie.
Yeah, I don't know if there was an embargo or not, but my gosh, did the floodgates open as soon as this movie came out with so many articles, so many stories, just a ton of content out there about Dune. I've never seen this much content about Dune in my entire life. And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah,
like I said, I am really looking forward to the con.
Yeah,
to see some Dune love.
You're gonna see.
2
plenty.
years ago, there was a Raban.
Mm-hmm. I
walked by a guy and I just stopped and I paused and I went, "Are you Beast Raban?" And he was so ecstatic that I got his cosplay. And then there was a Fremen last year.
I think you're gonna see a lot of Stilgar at the con. If I were to predict. I think a lot of middle-aged men with beards are gonna portray Stilgar because he's become a meme favorite. You know, anything happens, Lisan Al-Gaib is here.
Yeah, I love the memes. Like he's holding up the Ace of Diamonds.
Yeah,
I think my personal favorite one though was the thumb. You know, where he pulls the old trick you do to kids.
Yeah, it's Lisan Al-Gaib.
That meme is so good.
It's pretty good. I also part of me is like, no, take this man seriously. Take this. He is a naib. He is important. He's, you know, don't insult his beliefs, even though they're fake. You know,
we might get some Jessica cosplay too. Like I was surprised. I would have loved to have seen a Jessica cosplay, like from the first movie with the gold dress.
Yeah, that would have been beautiful.
But if I could see another one this time with the writing on the face.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're cosplayers out there, you know, bring it and go fade. I want to see you shave your eyebrows. You know, let's see it. Go big. Go big or go home.
Yeah, and the pictures, send those pictures where, Joe?
DuneCast at retrozap.com. Also, don't shave your eyebrows. Also, please don't do that.
Unless you want to.
I mean, you know, I'm not going to yuck anyone's yums. But
you're adults.
Yeah,
you do what you're going to do.
Do what you got. If you're an adult, yeah. Please. But if you're an adult, you probably aren't going to shave your eyebrows, right? But
I've seen some people commit before.
You know something? You know, you can't knock commitment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So our final story, topic of the night, final story. You know, it's a quick moment in the film, but we talked about it in our first impressions, and we'll talk about it again here. Austin Butler's kiss of Stellan Skarsgård in the film. 2 kisses, really.
Yes.
Yeah,
he went back for a second one.
He went back for a second one. And you know something? It fit. It worked. And then I find out it was completely improvised right on set. Like with the cameras rolling. Like wild. And you know something?
And Stellan just went with it.
He went with it because he's a great actor too. And that I didn't want to give Butler his flowers for what he did with Elvis. I'm like, okay, flash in the pan. I know anyone can do one good movie, but I mean, I think he's really showing his dedication to the craft when in this movie. I think his portrayal of Fade is one of the best things about the movie. I think he's just nails it.
You go from Elvis to Fade, and you pull it off pretty seamlessly. Yeah, I think at this point we can agree that he's a pretty good actor.
Pretty great actor, right? And he's not afraid to take to just full on plant a kiss on on another actor, improvise
on a man in a fat
suit. Goes for it. He went for it, and it worked. Yeah. So when asked about it, Butler said, Skarsgård's game for anything. He's the best. It's always about how you're trying to affect somebody else. That's what he said. That's really cool. And Butler's he's a method actor, I guess. I wonder how much method acting he brought to the Dune set.
He said not as much. He said he really did it a lot with Elvis.
Yeah.
But with this one, he was just like, for my own sanity, I could not do it for this one.
Yeah, could you imagine being Fade for 3 years every day and night? Yeah, he said, with Fade, I knew that would be unhealthy for my family and friends. Yeah.
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 Or lack thereof after this movie's shot, because they're all done with you.
That too. It allowed for more freedom between action and cut because I knew I was going to protect everyone else outside of the context of what we were doing. That's not to say it doesn't bleed into your life, but I knew that I wasn't going to do anything dangerous outside of that boundary, and in a way that allowed me to go deeper. Interesting. So when action's on, he just went for broke, right? It was, Dune Part 2, Villeneuve added, when the camera was on, it was like Butler was possessed. When the camera was off, you were still maybe 25 or 30% Fade, just enough to still be present and focus, but removed enough that you didn't kill anybody on set. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. So, love it.
With his introduction in the movie, though, that, when he sliced his servant's throat and then just stabbed the next one, it was like... It was like
nothing.
Perfect.
Yeah, there was just nothing there. He looks like a snake.
Like this is...
I realized this. He imitated the movements of a snake, real slithering look, the neck movements. He had a real creepo look to him. And that improvised kiss, it had an energy to it because it was improvised. And that second one going back for it, like, wow. That's such an interesting choice for actors to make. That was totally in line with the characters, totally in line. And you know something? I gotta be honest. It added a bit of weird to the movie that it sort of needed, because Dune Part 2 does play it a little mainstream. If there's anything to really not ridicule, but criticize about the movie, it is a little bit of a mainstream adaptation. There's no Spacing Guild, no weirdo navigators, no weirdo Count Fenring, no weirdo Baby Alia. There's no weirdo Fremen spice orgies. Did you forget about that scene? No. Fremen spice orgies. It's a thing. This movie needed a little bit of weird. It needed to keep its edge. And you know what? A little Fade kissing his uncle is just what you need.
And then for people that have read the books too, you get that illusion to, not illusion, I'm sorry, but you get that reference of what probably happened as Fade was growing up.
Yeah, quite possible. There's an intimate relationship under the scenes between the Baron and Fade, right? You never know. Yeah.
Baron was one of those people.
Yeah, he's a pedophile. That's what Harkonnen. What Baron Harkonnen is. Not really explicit in the film, but very much implied by that kiss. And I'm glad they had the courage to leave that in, right? Yeah.
It, like you said, it worked very well for the characters. And I do remember thinking the same thing, like, "Oh, that was weird."
Like, okay. Wow, I wasn't expecting that moment.
A little different, because the look on his face after he did it, too, I was like...
Yeah. It was like,
It was almost like, what are you going to do about it?
Right, like, come on, But it's funny because, yeah, I mean, it was the other way around, because in Lynch's film, you have, I mean, it's just a whole different character, right? Baron Harkonnen is like this cackling, mustache-twirling villain, like, "Ah, ha, 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 my beautiful fate." It's like all of that. So you don't really, it's just a whole different relationship and portrayal. So,
and Sting was a beautiful man in metallic Speedo.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is, right? Okay, let's get out of this real quick. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to the DuneCast. This has been a further exploration of Dune Part 2 and the fallout, the effect of Dune 2 on the popular culture. It's been really exciting. What a ride we are on, and the train is not slowing down, is it? Dune Part 2 is sweeping the world right now, and once the bucket subsides, with the fervor around the bucket, I think we're going to see a lot more people really interested in Messiah. And it's a great time. It's a great time to be a Dune fan, and it's really, really exciting. So look out for more from us very, very soon. Social media. We're not really doing a lot of social media right now, guys. If you want to contact us, the best way to do that is by emailing us, DuneCast@retrozap.com, by leaving us a comment on YouTube, and just by checking out the show, right? I mean, spreading the show to as many people as you possibly can. Yeah, we're just not on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram as much as we used to be in the past, because there's not much to gain there. I'd rather not spend my time doing that. I'd rather spend my time podcasting, right? So, let us know what you think of the show. I know we've made a bunch of updates lately. There's a brand new logo, and by the time this comes out, I believe we'll have a new shirt as well to check out with our new Worm Infinity logo. I hope you guys like that. And so it's really, really exciting time for the DuneCast, and look out for plenty more from us. There's nothing but topics we have to cover.
There are plenty of them out there, and I am looking forward to that shirt myself.
I know you are. The first time we showed you that you were like, "Hey, when can I get that?"
When can I get that?
Yeah, I'll send you a link. All right, guys.
All right.
We'll talk to you next time, as always, and may your knife chip and shatter. We'll see you later.